not only is Ki Taizai Parshat a lot of mitzvahs, the most, number one. Now, 613 mitzvahs in the Torah. Anyone want to guess how many mitzvahs in the number one Parshat Ki Taizai? Yeah, 74. Now, I was never great in math back in my floppish days, but even with my horrendous score on my regions, still, if I'm not mistaken, 74 out of 613 is more than 10%. That's crazy. The whole book of Rashis, which is before Matan Torah, hardly has any. What do you have? You have Bris Milah, you have Purvu, Kid Hanashi. You just have a handful because we don't have the Torah yet. And then Devarim, this is it. So it's crazy. Some Pashas, nothing. Some Pashas, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 74. So that takes the lion's share of mitzvah. Okay, that's for sure. And a very, very special one. A simple beginning, a sad, sad, sad beginning. Because sometimes it talks about Milchama when the Oivim come at us, what to do. The enemies come at us. And so many Mefarshim point out, Ki Taizai Milchama Levecha. When you go out to Milchama, and then you talk about getting the spoils of the war and this, and what do you do? How do you deal with all the different conquests that you're involved in? When do you have to deal with this problem of the different conquests? What about your Fatoa and that unbelievable chapter? When do you have to deal with all these challenges? First 3 words. Ki Taizai la milchama. If you are proactive in the milchama. Classic. Unfortunately, they're so raw and so clear. 1967, all of our beloved friends around the world, as Nasser, Yamach Shemo v'Zichrono, goes ahead. That's hundreds of thousands of troops on our southern border. And the UN, because they're very cordial, they have proper etiquette, so he told all the UN people to move. Someone asked, you have to oblige. So they all just left, and they all said to the Egyptians, good luck, knock them dead. I'm being cynical about the UN. I'm sorry. Oh, good. Thank you. Anyways, so
how can you not?
Oh yeah, believe me, no real apologies there. Anyways, so we're surrounded, and even our good friends are telling us, don't shoot the first shot. Okay, suicidal. But all our friends are friends, but everyone ultimately, it's not lishma, chesed lishma. Everyone has their own interests and how they want the world run for their own sake, which is understandable. And mine is going to want to run our world, what fits in best with his world. It's not too often you're going to find a tzaddik who's just thinking what's best for them, and I'll risk my career. It's just not too many people like that. We're going to do what fits in best with their worldview. So that's what was happening in 67. And Baruch Hashem, with loads of siyata d'shmaya, it was tricky. You remember the prime minister was on TV. He was shaking. We didn't know what was going to be. I don't know if he thought about these 3 words, but that's what he did. Ki Taizai la milchama, and Baruch Hashem, the results were miraculous and incredible. And unfortunately, we had a different concept. The concept over the last few years is somehow you ever say that it's nothing's going to happen. If they attack, we'll attack back. It's just a different framework that we've been in. And it was not Ki Taizai la milchama, and then unfortunately, we have that tragedy. So you don't need to be a military expert to know that the best defense is a good offense, and that's the 3 words, Ki Taizai la milchama. That's the simple shot of the pasuk. The Bali Musar, wow, for Elul. Edie was mentioning it's Elul. The Bali Musar, wow. Ki Taizai la milchama alevecha. Ki Taizai la milchama alevecha. You go ahead and you're at work. Give a million examples, and each one of us to think of an example of what I'm saying now. You're at work, and you know the group at work, 10:30, 11 o'clock, that's the coffee break, and there's a group there that for some strange reason, they don't love the boss, right? There's statistics that the 70, 60, or whatever percent of people not happy at work, it's because of the supervisors. That's just the way it is. You have people of power and people underneath them. The dynamics could just lead to challenges, okay? Even in the best of situations, you have the employee and the employee's not sitting fine. And you know there's just a lush and horror fest. It's a hornet's nest there at 10:30 in that room by the coffee. And you say, no, I'm going to go in tomorrow. No, I'm not going to listen, not going to talk. I'm even going to do what? I'm going to give the musser. Guys, it's not right. You have an issue with the boss, go ahead one-on-one and talk to him. Just to go ahead, a free flow. because he's in power and you don't like the way he spoke to you, so go speak to him. Be a man and speak to him if you want, and give him mussar and say, hey, this is not a good working relationship. That's fine. That's a mitzvah. Just stop here. They go ahead and mussar for what? And I'm going to tell him it's mussar, and I'm going to give him mussar. So you go on Tuesday, and they start talking. Not only do you not give them mussar, you're right in it. It's hard. It's hard. The social pressure is hard. Next day, okay. So now you realize it's just too. Gadol alai is the expression. It's just too big for me. It's just too much for me. So in such a case, you have to be proactive. So if that didn't work and that didn't work, maybe it's not the ideal, but maybe being proactive would mean what? Just don't get to that room. But the key thing is you're already thinking ahead. I failed a few times. How am I going to proactively deal with this challenge? Shalom bias. I come home from a hard day of work after being at the coffee hour and all the other tension in the work. I come home and I'm not so calm and kind with my wife and my kids and my dog. And what did he do wrong that I kick in the dog? Because he made a mess and he ate up the couch. He did it every other day. I didn't smack him. Why all of a sudden now? You know what? It's not because him. It's you know what? I realize I come back from a hard day work. So you know what? I'm going to think of that pasuk. In Gracious, El Petach Chatas Robates. Anyone remember that pasuk? Who said to who? Hashem said to Cain. He said that, watch out, Cain. You're about to kill your brother Hevel. They gave him a mussar shmutz. So it means that the sin is waiting to challenge you, but you can overcome it. So some Bali Musa say El Petach, at the entrance of your house, sin is waiting. Know your situation, know your makeup, understand yourself. So maybe what you should do is, before you walk in the door, it's a nice park next door. Take 10 minutes, sit, watch the kids play, whatever it is that's going to go ahead. A cup of coffee, whatever it is, it's going to change the situation, but you are fulfilling the drasha of Ki Taizai-74 Mitzvot. You're being proactive. And each one of us knows our situations, and we figure it out. Sometimes I meet with people, and it's just, I'm not a psychologist. Anyone who ever meets with me, couples, I'm not a therapist in any way. I hopefully have a good year. And maybe something for some practical advice. You're looking for deep psychological insights and this and that. If you're a Freudian approach, it's not. I'm not trained in that way, but you want to talk, I'm happy to. But so often, just like, it's really taking this into account where the couple or the neighbors would just find each other's triggers. What are your triggers? What is it about this relationship that is this going to send you reeling? Is it going to go flying? And just identify those triggers. And if you identify in advance and then you don't get into that. So your trigger is a tough day of work walking into the home. Okay, so you don't need to be a rocket scientist to adjust that. The trigger is you're being with the whole group at work, whatever it is, each one of us. Person had a late night, was at a wedding, went to sleep 1 in the morning, got up 5 for work. And in the past, he realizes when he's working on sleep deprivation, at work, he's all nice and fine. And in shul, he's a big tzaddik. And then all of a sudden at home, he's not such a big tzaddik. So he says, you know what? I know I am sleep deprived. And I know my history. I know I'm a good boy. I'm a Yeled Tov Yerushalayim, the expression goes, everywhere, except for where? At home, because my guard is down. You know what? I'm going to drive home. And 10 minutes before, if this works for you, I'm just take a power nap. I can't go in. I know I'm weak. My defenses are weak. And my resources are limited. I'm going to do something about it. Well, I'll tell my wife, I just need a few minutes to sleep, something, if that works for you. Whatever it is, but that's a trigger now because I'm weak. Everything's going to set me off. And the same thing that never would have mattered. I wouldn't have even noticed. I'm on guard. That's Ki Taizai-74 Mitzvot. It is a message 365 days a year, but it is especially a message when? Elul. Wow. To be proactive. It's a great, great message. So those first 3 words really, I hope, when we hear in shul or we read the parsha, I hope those 3 words, I hope that our military and security experts and all that take those words in the way it should mean, being proactive. If you're not proactive, we're done. Don't rely on the friends around the world. You can't. We have to work with our friends around the world, but just to think, their advice, Ki Taizai is normally the way to go. And then the hashkafa is beautiful. Okay. So then we go on and we have the halachot of milchama. Now, the Rambam has it. He has all 613 mitzvos. Okay, he has all 613 mitzvos. The Shulchan Aruch doesn't have Hilchot Milchama, the laws of war. It's not in the Shulchan Aruch. He does mention it where? He mentions it in Hilchot Shabbos, where the enemies are coming, but they're not coming for war. They're coming just to steal things, right? And we know with our cousins, Arabs, sometimes they can be fine and decent neighbors. Telstone next door to who? Abu Ghosh. They could find neighbors for half a century. So sometimes it could be, decent. And sometimes they will not kill, but some things that are there to steal, they might be stealing that. And sometimes, of course, it's war. You have all different times. And it's important for us to categorize the different ones. You know what I'm saying? It was actually at Netzach last year. He didn't last too long, but a Christian Arab was a security guard. And I know some parents had a hard time, which I understand that. I was very close to him. I give him a big shalom aleichem every morning. He's a person, he did the army. He's a shomer. I think it might have gotten some people nervous, which I understand. Yeah, then he's a person who's been doing nice things for our country. Okay, fine. Which part? What I said previously. Oh, we have to just be chachamim dealing with our enemies. And then the Musa part is be chachamim dealing with ourselves. Be proactive is the key. We have to be, the first 2 points I mentioned is being proactive, dealing with our enemies, being proactive, not waiting till it's too late. And 73, Yom Kippur War, verse 67. And then the second one is the drasha, about being proactive with our own nature and know where we have our challenges and be proactive dealing. That was the first 2 points, right? So now, dealing with the Hilchot Milchama, how to deal with the Milchama. So the Rambam talks about, and he goes through the Milchama, and everything is worked out in a very organized way. He talks about which Chayalim go out to war, who's exempt from the war. It's Hilchot Milchama. And there have been many Sfarim written since Hakamat Medina. There's a whole new type of literature that we have called what? Hilchot Medina. We didn't have this for 2,000 years. A Gadol Hador of Waldenberg, Tzitz Eliezer, you may or may not have heard of him, died about 20 years ago, giant of giants. Hilchot Medina. He has a whole sefer on army, on running a Medina, running a government. It's a whole new topic. And the Rambam has Hilchot Melachim. He talks about Milchama, and it's amazing to see our precious, precious Chayalim following these halachas, where you see the videos of the Meshach Milchama. We don't have the official anointed Kohen now, but we have someone in the Chayal, the rabbi from the unit, and giving them that talk beforehand. And then the Rambam talks about what mental framework you're supposed to have in Milchama. And he writes, this is in Perek Zayin, the famous halachot, who is exempt from war. Someone just got married, and all the different halachot. And he writes, Mia isha yari rach levav kemashma'o, ein belibo koach lamod b'kshrei milchama. He can't manage. He can't manage the war. He's afraid. Blood gets him scared. He's just, okay. But after we figure out who's in and who's out, the Rambam writes, She'eno mikveh Yisrael moshio be'ez Sarah, be'yodeya shayichad Hashem. Then you connect to God, and you know that Hashem, ultimately, you're partnering with Hashem, be'yasim nafsho be'kapo. You place your heart in God's supervision. Don't have any fear. Lo beishto velo bebanav. You have tunnel vision. You have tunnel vision. The Chayal, he's focused on one thing: just wiping out an enemy. Wiping out an enemy. That's it. Not something. How's my wife? That's going to distract you. It sounds like a crazy halacha. Don't think of your family. Also to think about your family, but that's it. Velo beishto bebanav. Okay. Rather, yifnem mikol davar lemilchama. You are totally hyper focused on one thing only, with the war effort and focus on the enemies. and nothing other things, and have a connection to Hashem. Hashem's going to help. What's amazing is this halacha didn't exist for 2,000 years, and it's back again. And to think all the stories of the Chayalim, it's just not normal. The Chayalim on this level. How many Chayalim are going in with connection to Hashem, bitachon, knowing they may die, knowing there's a good chance they're going to die in some of the missions? The ones who went to save the hostages 2 months ago, they knew the chances are strong they're going to die. They have to crawl for fear. It was crazy. It's not normal. And even if they get in undetected, and then how do you get out? The chances were, I have no idea what, experts about the chances. We all know it was crazy. And they're going in. These are Chayalim that the Klal Yisrael has produced. It's an unbelievable thing. To the point that there's the famous Shaila that the OU, Jewish Action magazine, put out. Maybe you saw, but I'll mention it quickly if you didn't see it. Rav Rimon, a luminary in the Datzilumi world. I hope in 10 years he's going to be the chief rabbi. It'd be nice if he would be the chief rabbi already upcoming now. We need a strong Datzilumi chief rabbi, in my opinion. But I think he wants another 10 years before that happens. So maybe in 10 years he'll be the next one. And he was asked to Shaila by a woman where they didn't get pregnant right away. The pregnancy, they got married, and finally she's pregnant, and her husband's fighting in Gaza. And does she tell him? Does she not tell him? Because she knew this Rambam. And she says, if I tell him, he's going to be focused now on me. And Rav Limon answered, well, wait, what's going to happen in that conversation? It's going to be very emotional. You guys are going to both be crying. What's going to happen? He says, well, I'm going to cry. Of course, it's like we waited, and it's very emotional. He said, you know what, cry now. Go through the conversation in your mind. I don't remember exact words. Go through the conversation in your mind now and work it through now, so that conversation with him is only going to be just giving him what? Chizik. That's it. But the fact that this Shaila is coming up, what does it say? The fact that we even have this topic again. So the wars are tragic, obviously, what's going on with us. And we got Intel Mouse, and all that is terrible. And I know some of my colleagues, and I have my feet in different worlds, in the Tzioni world, in the Haredi world, and I know my colleagues, you see, Ramar is always looking to show me how, you still say, Barechem did not Yisrael, racist, you still say that in Yishu, it's the beginning of the Gula. You're still so happy about the Medina? And the answer, of course, is yes. That one-day Holocaust would have ended up in a 5-year Holocaust if we didn't have Medina Israel in the army. Obviously, only Hashem could say that for real. But that's quite possible. And yes, do we mess up? Of course, we have generals and people at heads of security that are just totally out to lunch sometimes, and they were sleeping at the wheel, of course. And therefore what? Therefore, Medina Israel is not a big bracha. It's just such a bilbul that unfortunately some of my colleagues make. It's very sad. So to think, that we have the Medina, we have an army, and these halachas are back again. And we have a holy woman asking a shayla to Rav Rimon after learning this halacha. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So point number 3 is Baruch Hashem, Helchot Melachim, is back again. And we have Chayalim following these halachas, and the holy wives just understand what's going on. It's an amazing thing. An amazing thing. Yes, Edie. Yeah, so very, very good. Excellent question. So the Helchot Medina that the Tzitz Eliezer set up, which was, you should know, was a phenomenon. Yes, it was such a phenomenon. Every Mon has books on army. That Tzilumi world has produced so many books on army. The Tzitz Eliezer was in the Haredi world. And the Haredi world and the Haredi world's connection to the Medina, it's complex to say the least. And to have a gadol in the Haredi world, he was a posek for Shari Tzedek. The world's biggest medical ethics cases came to whom? Damn, Rav Aaron Lichtenstein himself was a gadol. The Rosh Yeshiva of Gush, I remember who, saying how big he was, and he wrote Hilchot Medina about the Memshalah, about war, and what age they should go in. And he applied it. The army is not there yet. Not there yet. It's not an army totally guarded by halacha. And we'll finish off with a bracha. We'll finish off with a bracha that Mitzvah Hashem one day it will be guided by halacha, because not only the age is exempt from even another one. Think about our boys going in, their lives are at risk, and the decisions hopefully would be made by the military experts together with whom? the rabbinic experts who know army, know the warfare, know international relations, and can make a decision based on Torah and all the facts. It's got to be an army person, a rabbi army person, and we have the whole Hesder world is filled with those, and can make that proper decision, because sometimes you can have a moral, in quotes, decision by the army, which is so immoral. We don't want to blow that house down. Why? Because maybe there's innocent civilians. So we're going to send who in to find the terrorist? Our Chayalim. Wait a second. We're going to send Chayalim in and not blow the building down, knowing there's terrorists there, because maybe we're going to end up killing innocent Gazans, and we're going to risk our boys, Binyamin Early, Ramat Shilo, from around the corner, my student. He went into the building and it didn't blow it up. So we need, and we have to pray for the day. But it's not just any rabbi. It's a rabbi that knows international and can work with the nations, but also knows halacha, true Torah morality, not Western morality, Torah morality, and could really balance all of these things together in a proper way. That, to me, is a bracha tefillah that we really should be asking for. So just to summarize, Ki Taizai milchama, we need, I think, hopefully everyone should understand by now, we need the 67 approach, not the 73 and the 2023 approch. We cannot be passive. We have to go out to milchama. Then you have the Bali Musa that say, Ki Taizai milchama is our own inner workings. You have to be proactive. We all have to see where we have our skeletons hiding within us, and not just slip again, have another fight again with our children, with our neighbors, our spouse. No. Well, why did that happen? What was the trigger? And how can I stop that before it gets worse next time? Then you have Hilchos Malachim, first time 2,000 years, and it's coming up again, that we have these proper halachot. By Kochva we had it, by the Romans we had a little bit, but haven't had it. And that's amazing, bracha. We should preach we have it again. And you have Sfarim written now applying that to today's reality, which is amazing. And it's incredible to think that we have Chayalim and the wives who are just living these halachas and asking Shilas. It's just amazing. And finally, we have to finish off with the tefillah. We have to finish off with the tefillah. And Hashem, we need to have Chachma, Bina, Das, where the rabbinic military rabbinic, I put them together. They have to know, just like you're not going to go to a posting who knows nothing about a medical procedure and ask him halachas about a kidney transplant. He knows nothing about it. He needs to know. Or Moshe finds he was not a medical expert, but who do you have by your side? His son-in-law, Temla. So you need to have a rabbi who is connected very much to the Torah, Masorah, and warfare. And hopefully the other ones are going to be making the decisions, so we never have a chayal go under chas v'shalom because of a false morality. It's got to be a Torah morality, and then yes, people die in a war, but let it be because of the proper reasons. That's tefillah. Yes, Hashem. Have a wonderful Shabbos. Nice to see you. My pleasure. Take care. Be well.